we start a project, we're not only digesting the client's needs and wants, but also, what does this house want? What does the architectural history teach us? It's based in responsiveness, responding to the architecture and the context of that architecture. And being responsive, the goal is that the outcome will be really holistic and thoughtful. So our real goal after talking with Liz and David about their needs and wants was to make sure that we kept the original architecture, which was really resonating with Liz, but also made sure to layer on top of that great space planning and to make sure that it felt really comfortable and inviting, just a real family home where everyone would want to gather. And to make sure that it had all of that love of nature brought from the outside in. I'm Mira Ingetz, and today I'm going to take you behind the design of the historic Albee House in Portland, Oregon. The Albee House was built in 1912. It was designed by A.E. Doyle, who was a really prominent architect at the turn of the century. The house was commissioned by the then mayor of Portland, Mayor Albee. It was developed at the same time as Laurelhurst Park, which abuts the property. You can see from this photo that the house is in a Georgian revival style, so the facade is pretty symmetrical, whereas the back facade, which faces the park, is much more asymmetrical and I think actually more beautiful. So there's this juxtaposition between really formal, stately, symmetrical design from the Georgian revival facade at the front, and then something a little bit more playful and organic and asymmetrical. That juxtaposition is something that carries through in the design both inside and out. Very rectangular, stately rooms that then have a softening to them through the interior design. The layering on of textiles and playful motifs, nature, and of course, some modernity. When Liz and David approached us, they said they really wanted to celebrate the charm and original character of their home, but they are a modern family who have a lot of expectations around lifestyle. This is a common conundrum with these older homes. What do the bones of the project want to be? How do you respect the existing architecture while making thoughtful shifts that can accommodate a modern lifestyle? Because this property is so important here in Portland, it is registered in the National Register of Historic Places. We really couldn't make major changes to the exterior facade. Whereas on the interior, although we really strive to respect the existing architecture, we had a little more leeway there. There were quite a few strategies that we employed. The biggest really is just in the space planning. On the main level, we were really concerned about giving Liz the best cook's kitchen that we could give her, given the spatial constraints of the home. To achieve the best kitchen for Liz possible, we also got very clever about locating her 48-inch wide refrigerator in a little pass-through just off of the kitchen leading to the breakfast room. It allowed us to have a lot of uninterrupted counter space, which is so key to a good cook's kitchen. It also allowed us to get in a sizable range, which was very important for Liz. There is a lot of exposed storage in the way of a devolved kitchen rail, also half-fronted drawers that allow you to really see the contents, so you don't have to open a door in order to understand what's behind it. Now we're standing in the office. This is where Liz has her own sanctuary. It originally was an outdoor porch, and these windows and doors were added after the fact. When we first came into this space, there was a lot of brick that was concealed by drywall, so we made sure to remove that and then clean the brick up and celebrate the materiality that was there originally. So this room, it does feel particularly special because it has such an indoor-outdoor feel, and where it's positioned on the property, Liz can look out over her apiary, she can look towards Laurelhurst Park, and it just does feel like it's truly enveloped by nature. Laurelhurst Park was developed at the same time of the house, and it's a public park that abuts the property. It's beloved by Portlanders and has an adorable duck pond. The brick used for this house is the same brick used in Laurelhurst Park. In addition to this space, we created a greenhouse on the property. So that was designed by our landscape architect, Courtney Skyback, and it's situated in the southwest corner of the property. It truly is where Liz can feel connected to the outdoors and her garden. Liz is a maximalist and also an Anglophile, so she wanted to take inspiration from gardens she'd seen in the Cotswolds. She wanted to make sure that she had an herb garden that was very close to the kitchen that she could use while she's cooking, and the greenhouse is just kind of the grounding hub of all of that. So we've talked a lot about bringing the outside to the interior design, but we did take the inside out when we designed the greenhouse. We have beautiful old farmhouse style sinks that came from the basement's laundry. And when you look at them, they have all of this patina and character from years of use and a gorgeous yellow color that we were really inspired by. Now we're in the living room. So we wanted to make sure we had a very generous sofa, and in order to create a seating arrangement that really felt intimate in this large room, Jessica came up with the idea to create the world's largest coffee table. It's a single slab of quartzite and has a steel powder-coated base. Another big move that we made was to change out the hearth, the surround, and the mantle of the existing firebox. So we used a tile that we love from Matawi Tile Works in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And you can see there's a lot of great motif in that tile. It's beautifully handmade and glazed. So this is the living room as it was originally. It has a very different fireplace, surround, and mantle and hearth, but the firebox is in the same location. The curved bay is just as it is now, and the millwork and the casework is all the same. We designed this wall mural that goes on every single wall and the ceilings. So you can see there's a geometry to it that is quite repetitive. We looked at Art Nouveau motifs when we designed it, and then asked our friends over at Lonesome Pictopia to come and paint it by hand. And when they came and painted, they added all of these little creatures, which are seen through insects and birds. There are even spider webs and dragonflies all over. So that was a wonderful way to bring that nature in. As we travel throughout the house, there is a wonderful process of discovery, seeing these hand-painted creatures all over the place. They're in very unexpected little corners. You'll just see bees and mice and bunnies bouncing around. Now we're in the dining room, and there are quite a few original interior architectural details that we lovingly refurbished, including the mahogany paneling and trim work. There are some beautiful pocket doors with original stained glass paneling, and the stained glass that's over the buffet is original as well. We've talked a lot about the aesthetic movements that have inspired our design of this home, and you can see that here. It's the Art Nouveau movement in the chandelier, and then we have an arts and crafts rug on the floor, and this buffet in the background is an original design with Art Deco motifs on the front and sides. Another big addition to this room was the gilding. The walls and the ceiling are hand gilded in brass by Lonesome Pictopia. When we first came into this room, it was very dark and had really heavy window treatments. So the gilding was a real way to reflect and bounce light around, create a certain luminosity in the space. Another thing that we love about the dining room is that it's a real hub of the home. It's connected to 4 different rooms and really is centrally located within the house's footprint. This is pretty rare for a dining room of this era, and we wanted to embrace that. There's very little in the way of alterations to the interior architecture for that reason. So one of the spaces that's adjacent to the dining room is the parlor. So we made it an important goal to connect the dining room and the parlor together aesthetically, like they're speaking to each other. Here we have a Madison and Grow wallpaper on the walls, and the gold and the color of the background is reflected in the buffet in the dining room. We love this room because it's a more intimate place to socialize. Another big element within this space is the Tyler Hayes puzzle painting. This painting actually was the inspiration for the rug, the accent pillows, and even this Tiger Mountain upholstery fabric. And the scene itself is very much of the Pacific Northwest in that it's a scene of the Columbia River, which is just a few miles away. Portland is known as having its roots in logging, and when this house was built, Portland was really doing its best to kind of celebrate that history, but also move beyond it a little bit and become a little more of an elevated town. So I love seeing this puzzle piece and thinking about that history and the history of this home. Upstairs, where we have quite a few private areas, we did a little more space planning, adding additional storage to the bedrooms and reconfiguring all of the bathrooms. We added closets to the bedrooms, reconfigured the main bedroom to allow for an uninterrupted wall that the bed could be pushed up against. Other changes include the main bathroom just really being expanded so that it felt like a true primary bathroom with his and her sinks and a water closet and a full tub. What we're trying to achieve when we space plan for a historic home and a modern family is make sure that any new footprint of a space or a room remains a rectangle in shape. And this is because in traditional homes, we have a lot of millwork and casework. Rooms with irregular shapes really don't allow for the kind of graceful transitions that we want for things like molding. And it feels really awkward because there aren't really great ways to terminate the trim or to change materials. It makes perfect sense in a modern home. It doesn't make any sense in a traditional home. What we always try to do is keep the rooms to rectangular shapes. And if we want to really connect one space to another, we do that through a very thoughtful cased opening. A really important element that we try to create in a bedroom suite is sanctuary. We have a bedroom, of course, but then there's a generous bathroom, a bedroom lounge, and a dressing room. There are some original features, the windows, the flooring, some of the casing, but we changed quite a lot because there was no great headboard wall. The original bed was floating catty-cornered in the room because there was no uninterrupted wall to push it up against. So we had to really reconfigure the openings off of this bedroom to allow for a headboard wall. Another design tenet that we really live by at Jessica Helgerson Interior Design is just making sure that a home feels truly cohesive. Whether you're in the bathroom or the lounge, the dressing room or the bedroom, the color palette is really cohesive. You can actually see a bird from this wallpaper that was hand-painted in the dressing room. It's almost as if it escaped the wallpaper. In the lounge, we also have some hand-painting elements that are captured in creatures from downstairs in the living room. We have bees and mice just scurrying and buzzing around. So that whole concept of cohesion in design, you can see that throughout this whole home. There isn't a space that you go into that feels separate or of a different theme. It all feels really good together because we designed it holistically. The wallpapers and the pattern work is all of a certain era and of a certain palette. The plumbing fixtures are all from the same line, in this case, Waterworks. The lighting throughout, which is very influenced and inspired by Art Nouveau and Wiener Werkstätte. That attention to cohesion and holistic design extends not only to the really gorgeous celebrated spaces, but also to the more utilitarian spaces, such as the laundry room. It wants to be a space that is celebrated, that you want to be in, even though you're doing hard work.